in his shirt. A grasshopper jumped on his ear, and he forgot about his gun. He forgot about his club. He didn't give a doggone about his badge, because he couldn't say to the grasshopper, stop, in the name of the Lord. The grasshopper ran him crazy. The grasshoppers were so mean that day. The man that was selling hot dogs and burgers and beer, the grasshopper got in the hot dog, got in the burger, closed his stand down. The grasshopper jumped on the patrons, saying, hit that ball, hit that ball. But when the grasshopper got him, he forgot about the ball, went to smacking and going on till the grasshopper drove him to distraction. So he said, let's get up and get on out of here. Everybody started running for the door, but it created a jam at the door. Grasshoppers had them running. Grasshoppers had them hopping. Grasshoppers had them jumping. But when they got to the door, they began to crush each other. And some died in the crush just from a grasshopper. But the white man with his gun couldn't shoot the grasshopper. The white man with his stick couldn't beat the grasshopper. Surely they have no power when you compare their power to the power of Almighty God. And whatever they have of power, He gave it to them. But what does the Bible say, Mr. Farrakhan? You've been talking about that Holy Quran, and I don't know nothing about that book. Very good. So I'll put the Holy Quran down, and I'll pick up the Bible. I don't have my Bible with me, but I'm going to give you the Bible verse, and you go check it out. In Luke, he says, listen, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking upon the things that are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And when these things begin to come to pass, look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth near. This is the 21st chapter of Luke, the 25th and 26th verses. Now let's check it out. There is activity in the sun and the moon and the stars that got white folks shook up. They see an uncommon, out of the ordinary movement of the planets. They see them lining up. They say, what does this mean? They see sunspot activity on the surface of the sun, and the sun belching out fire from 10 to 30,000 miles from her surface. Think about the sun, a ball of fire with sun rays of balls of fire shooting out from the surface of the sun 30,000 miles. The earth is 7,926 miles in diameter, approximately 8,000 miles. So 4 times the diameter of the sun, of the earth. The sun is shooting out flames of fire. When that happens, it disturbs the atmosphere and cuts into the communications. It brings up storms. Storms on the sun brings up its counterpart. It begins to blast with weather that burns the earth. Oh yeah, brother. There will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars. That moon out there that we have in the flag, that moon represents equality because it equalizes the waters of the earth. Yes, sir. The waters of the earth approximately cover 3/4 of the earth's surface. Yeah, that's right. 139,685,000 square miles of water. If the water could seek its level, it would drown out civilization, but the moon keeps the water coming up, churning, where it doesn't drown civilization. But when there's strange activity with the moon, then the sea and the waves begin to roar. God brings up storms, and the submarines can't stay down in the depths. There is no submarine that can stay under the water. When God takes winds and whips the water in a circular motion, and every time the winds make a circular motion, they whip the waves around, and what is on the bottom begins to come up to the top. And when it reaches the top, it comes up almost vertical. Then the water parts and then comes and claps its hands. And the submarine is gone. The big ship is gone. You have no power. When Allah begins to disturb the elements, the sea and the waves roaring. Look, and on earth, distress of the nations with perplexity. All the nations are filled with distress. Let's take America, for instance. Where we live, we better start at home, then spread abroad. What is happening in America? Distress. The president can't balance the budget. The dollar steadily falling. The fabric of the society pulling apart. The homes being broken by divorce. A woman at the head of 53% of black families. Husband and wife gotta go to work to support the family. Nobody home to mind the children. Children minding themselves, growing up by television. Distress of the nations with perplexity. Perplexity means confusion. Now the sea and the waves roaring has a metaphysical or spiritual meaning. You know what can happen when the sea out there begins to roar. But what about a sea of people when they are dissatisfied? They go out to the airport with their picket signs saying, "We got no justice." What about the people that say respect for life? No more abortions. And what about those who say we want the right of choice, clashing with each other? What about the gay and lesbians marching in every city? We want our rights. Give them to us now, baby. Or we'll march on you, honey. The sea and the waves roaring. White folk thinking the government is giving away our land and our property, selling it to the Japanese, to the Arabs. Many white people angry. So they're saying, let's kick all Asians and darkies and Jews out of the Northwest and make it our territory. The sea and the waves are roaring. The people are rising up. And men's hearts failing them with fear. What is the number one disease in America? Come on. Heart attack. Young man says to his wife, see you, baby. I'm going on to my bank job. I'll be back this evening round about the regular time. On the way to work, driving down the outer drive, he clutches his heart. He can't hold on to the steering wheel. He goes into the next lane, then over into the lane of the traffic coming in the opposite direction. He dies at the wheel and kills 4 more. Heart attack. What brought on your heart attack? What brought on your high blood pressure? What brought on the stroke, the trauma, the shock? It's the hour of judgment, and the stress in that hour is unbelievable. That's what got Whitey going crazy. It's stress, trying to hold up his world. He said the niggas are rising. Tell Reverend Chickenfoot, go down into the ghetto and stop them from rising. If Chickenfoot can't do it, call Reverend Hogmaw. Tell him that he should unite with Chickenfoot and get a rabbit's foot and pray that they can keep the niggas from rising. When he got that quelled, something else breaks out. Whitey's in trouble. His heart is failing him. He's a policeman on his way to a riot. They call him on the wire saying, riot. And they give the alarm. He's on his way to the riot, and when he gets there, he sees a crowd. His heart begins to pound. He's been overweight, eating greasy food in the greasy spoon. He has not been exercising. So he reaches for his gun, hoping that it will be a short fight, because he can't take nothing too long. So he runs into the fray. Heart attack. This is why Whitey didn't want Jesse as a vice president. A heartbeat away. Whitey can't take that, because Mr. Bush may be prone for something like that. He's a nice guy. And a few terrible things happen to the nice guy. He go in the situation room and can't take the situation. Boom, a black man is president. Can you see them swearing in Jesse? I can see Jesse now in the Oval Office, in the Rose Garden. White folks with their lips turned down. Black folk rejoicing over some white man dying and a black man is president. Race riots break out all over the country. A nigger is in the White House. There's a nigger in the White House. What is our country coming to? So they said, no way. No way. We're not going to let Jesse Jackson get no vice presidency. Heart attack is serious. It's striking black and white, rich and poor. Young people today, stressed out. Look at you, brother. Young people can't handle it. Look at this. God created us. He says in the Quran that he created us to face difficulty. The Quran says all of us that come into the world, difficulty is going to accompany life. You want life, you want difficulty. Life was never meant by God to be easy. If life was easy, then it wouldn't allow you to bring out your qualities. When you are tested the severest, that's when you see who you are. So God says he created us not to turn our back on difficulty, but to face it. And to face the difficulty means to summon the power of our being, all our knowledge, and we face that difficulty, summoning our strength to go against that difficulty until we overcome it. God has already fixed us up chemically, that when there is a difficulty, if we face it with the right mentality, we produce from the brain chemistry that allows us to be aroused to that difficulty, to the activity of facing the difficulty. Have you ever seen when you get in trouble and you have to run? Do you think you run the same? You know what I mean? Even when you're running a race and you're on the track team, you may run fast, but when you're running from death, you run a lot faster. Is that right? But what is it that makes you run faster? Come on, sisters. Your baby is threatened. There's a man there, 220 pounds. Under normal circumstances, you ain't gonna mess with that man. But when that man mess with your baby, all of a sudden, from somewhere, you get strength that rouses you to the activity that must be done to protect that baby. You jump in that 220-pound man's collar, and that man feels like the universe has grabbed him. And when you begin throwing him around like he's a piece of paper, and after it's done you beat him good and take your child, then you sit down and say, did I do that? I didn't know I could do that. Under normal activity, you may run up to a fence and struggle to get over it, but let you snatch a pocketbook and police see you, Jack, and he's coming and you know you've been caught before, and he told you if he catch you this time, you're going away for a long time. Jack, you almost leaped that fence with a single bound. You said, good God Almighty, Superman to the rescue. But what is it that makes you able to do that? Have you ever thought about it? What gives you the power when you're frightened? What arouses you to the activity to overcome things that you think are insurmountable? What is it when a young black man in San Diego, California, was accosted by 4 or 5 policemen, and they were trying to kill him, and he knew if he didn't fight, they would kill him. So that man struck at the policeman, got his gun, and killed 3 of them. When he went to trial, the evidence was so overwhelming against the police, they had to let the boy go. You understand? But what rousted him to the activity? That he could take on 5. Huh? That's right. That's right. Take their weapon and kill them with their own weapon. Right. What you don't know is that when God created us, He created us with everything we need to face any difficulty and to overcome any hardship. But from this very brain, we create chemicals that have an effect on us to give us strength. Unbelievable power that a single individual looking weak, but when his mind is right, like Samson, he could take the jawbone of an ass and slay 10,000. What caused him to rise to that occasion? Is he some superhuman dude that we can read about in scripture but never meet in life? Go home, black man and woman, and look in the mirror at yourself, and you're looking at the person who can do superhuman things if you know how to use what God has given you. Check this out. I better keep my watch because I don't intend to be long today. What? Is this clock right? It's a little fast. Give me a couple more minutes. Go ahead. I hope that you bear with me, because I want to show you by the grace of God how wonderful you are and how wonderful the Creator has made us all. That you do not need to be afraid, but you need to be willing to face whatever the difficulty is, because within you is the power to overcome it all if you determine to face it. Listen, how many of you have studied physics in school? I didn't mean take a physics. How many study physics? Just a few. Well, look, you know that air has weight, right? Yes, sir. Does the air have weight? Yes, sir. You can't feel it. So I didn't know the air had weight. Sure. On every square inch of your body, the atmosphere is exerting 15 pounds of atmospheric pressure. That means if you look at the top of your head and you divide that into square inches, on every square inch there's 15 pounds of atmospheric pressure pushing in on you. How come you don't feel it? Isn't it marvelous that you got that kind of pressure on you, and you walked in here today like you didn't have no pressure? All this weight hanging on your head, and you didn't say, can I? You just came on in, didn't you? Isn't God great? He gives you pressure, but he shows you how to carry it. So God so constructed the human being that he's got pressure pushing out from the inside equal to the pressure pushing in from the outside. So in the equalization of that pressure, you feel no stress. Isn't that wonderful? Showing you that a God who can create pressure for you and yet equalize that pressure would never allow you to have stress without that which can equalize the pressure that comes from stress. But if you don't look in the right direction, surely man is in loss except those who believe. Let me get to that later. I just want to lay it. All right, now, what is this thing called stress? Everybody's stressed out. You got stress? I got stress. You got stress, sister? I got stress. Even these little babies, young children, show signs of stress. You go in your house, I'm talking to the youth now. You hear your mother and her boyfriend, or your mother and your father arguing. You go to your room, if you got a room. You try to close the door. You act like you don't, I don't want to hear it. But your mother and your father are fighting. Then your father hits your mother, knocks her down. You hear her scream. You run out of the room. She grabs the butcher knife. You say, Mommy, don't kill him. Don't kill him, Mommy. Your father smacks her some more. He leaves the house. Your mother's crying, telling you, I'm gonna kill that so-and-so. When he come back tonight, I'll get him, I'll get him. And the child is looking at all of this, and the child feels what? Stress. That's not natural pressure. That is a pressure that the child does not have the knowledge to allow him to handle that. You see what I'm saying? Yes, sir. You got circumstances coming up in your life today that you don't have the knowledge to handle. And when those circumstances come up, say you're a devoted husband, you work hard all day, you get sick on the job, you come home unexpectedly and find your best friend in the bed with your wife. Stress. You ain't got the knowledge. You don't have the knowledge of how to deal with that. So you reach for your gun. Because there ain't no knowledge that will help you deal with that. So you get your gun. I know what to do. So you kill your wife. Kill her lover. Now you've made your children orphans, because when you kill the mother, now the father is in jail. And the children gotta go from house to house, living in foster homes. But the stress that's on the young is not like the stress that's on the old, because you lived a little bit, but they are just coming to life and the world is coming down around them, and they have no way of handling the stress. You don't have no way of handling stress, black man. You go to get a job and you got it. You get married, your wife is looking for you to bring the money home. You get busted, fired. You come home, you tell your wife, I got fired today, baby. You got 6 children. You wonder where your next meal is coming from. Social Security or welfare checks. You have to go down and stand in line and suffer the indignities of people questioning you and talking to you like, what are you doing here? You gotta suffer all that indignity just to get a doggone check. And when the check comes, it's not enough to do anything with. So you're stressed out. You're stressed. And the more you're under this stress, your physical body begins to deteriorate under that stress. See? Yes, sir. The incapacitating effect of stress creates a need, a dependence on things outside of self. Are you listening? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The body responds to stress normally by producing natural chemicals which have the same properties as morphine and heroin. Yes. The body produces this. Yes. Listen, the body, I'm going to say it again, yes. Right from the brain, when the stress is normal, the brain says, my man needs to cool out. Yes. Sister, you need to just cool out. Yes. So the brain manufactures chemicals which have the same properties as morphine and heroin. It calms you down, it sedates you naturally. But if the body's stress response is exhausted, that system that is to give you what you need, if that system is exhausted, then the person has to look outside of himself to quiet himself or to comfort himself in a time of stress. Look, black man and black woman, it is unquestionable, says the Urban League in their State of Black America, it is unquestionable that black Americans suffer an inordinate amount of stress. We can therefore speculate, they do, but I say it with truth, that black people are disproportionately represented among drug-dependent users because of unbearably high stress. It's stressful to be black in a white man's world. It's stress, man. When you got to go to school and learn something about white people and learn nothing about yourself, that's stress, man. Let me tell you. Y'all all right? Yes, it is a human need to be loved, to be wanted, to feel like you belong. But in America, if you're black, what you hear all day long is that a black man ain't nothing. A nigger ain't nothing. You ain't never gonna be nothing. So all day long you're feeding on that kind of food. And your nature calls out for you to be loved, to be wanted, but you are rejected. Nobody wants you. Mama tells you, go on out, boy. Her boyfriend is in the house. She don't want you around. You want to stick around because you don't like that man being with your mother. So you stick around trying to see what that man gonna do, and your mother comes up and says, boy, get on out. Go on out and play. Well, I want to stay home. Did you hear what I said? Nigga, get your up out of here and get on outside. Well, you now know, you ain't no fool. You know what that man is doing to mama. All the while you out in the street, your mind is stressed. You walk down the street with a sour look. The stress is so great, you can't produce chemically from the brain that which will cool you out. Along comes your friend. Hey, my man, try this. It'll cool you right out, man. You know what I mean? We got to get up and forget this world. You understand? This is the way you think. When you're stressed like that, you don't want to work. When you're stressed like that, you want to cool out. When you're stressed like that, you seek pleasure because you are in pain. And the black man and woman are in pain day in, day out. Day in, day out. The black man and woman are in pain. But where's your relief? It don't come from the mind. Because your stress response system is so overloaded by the shock of the hour and the loss of everything that your stress system is exhausted. So even when you go out, you look old before your time. Young men look old before your time. Young women look old before your time. Those of you who are our elders, you look like our great grandparents because the stress, you can't handle it. Look at Sugar Ray Robinson, one of the greatest fighters pound for pound that ever lived, dying at the age of 67 from Alzheimer's disease, which means he suffered senility at 67. What happened? Jackie Robinson, the man that opened up baseball for all black people, but he died in his 40s. Why did he die so young? The stress of being called nigger day in and day out, and he had to hit the ball and make a home run and catch the fly ball and slide into home. He had to please white folk, dazzle black folk, while they was throwing black cats on the field and tell him nigger this, nigger that. When Hank Aaron was about to break Babe Ruth's home run record, he got telephone calls. Nigger, don't you do it? Nigger, if you do it, we'll kill you, nigger. But he broke the record. He beat the white man's record. But look at the stress on him. Look at the pain on him. So we die young. Look at Charlie Parker. Look at Coltrane. Look at all our great singers of song. They die young. You see them with money, but it ain't money. The world gives them stress, and they can't find no relief nowhere. Pain everywhere. So the white man comes, bringing the white lady. The white lady called cocaine. This will ease your mind. Basketball players working on the sand lot. As young boys learning how to play ball, because this is the only way you can get out of the ghetto. So they work. Somebody comes along and says, nigga, not nigga, Mr. So-and-so. They'll always call you Mr. So-and-so when they want your nigga after they get you. Oh man, you know I'm saying it right. That's right, it is absolutely right. Look, man, they get you down in these colleges, you playing ball. They get you in the big time, you play for the Bulls, you play for the Celtics, not hardly. Not unless the bird gets sick. Now that the bird can't fly, rather than die, they got black folk in there now. But you go up so fast, and you can't handle fame. Fame brings stress. Money brings stress. If you never had none, you got stress from not having none. Of course, I'd rather have stress from having some than having stress from having none. But, brother, when you got money, that's stress. Because everybody got a game, got a plan.